Thor. Thor is now a fan-favorite Marvel character. He stole the show in Infinity War, and Thor is now one of my favorite MCU heroes. Yes, Thor. I think it's truly amazing to see mass appeal for a character which was cared for before, but not necessarily gushed over. Thor was the third Marvel character which was introduced to us, which was building up towards the Avengers, and the first film was pretty good. It suffered from a few things, but what it got right was Thor and Loki. Oh boy, Loki. Loki eventually eclipsed Thor in Thor: The Dark World, with Loki dominating a lot of the spotlight. The reason why is because after Thor's hero's journey in the 2011 film, Thor pretty much stayed the same. He stays a somewhat static character throughout the Avengers, mostly through Thor: The Dark World, and is a static character in Age of Ultron. In the Avengers, the biggest change for all the characters is that they cannot work together, and then at the end of the film, they eventually learn how to. But most of the characters have something that they were struggling with as well. Captain America is a man at a time and is continuing his journey immediately after the first Avenger. His journey is one of adaptation, man versus world, also man versus self a little bit. Iron Man's journey is about learning humility, to be a team player, letting others take control. We also see him grow into as big of a character as a god and a monster, capable of sacrificing himself for the greater good.
You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play, to lay down on a wire and let the other guy crawl over you.
I think I would just cut the wire.
You know, you may not be a threat, but you better stop pretending to be a hero.
Bruce Banner's arc is of acceptance, and now Thor's arc is pretty much intertwined with his brothers. But that's the biggest issue with Thor in the earlier Marvel films. There's no Thor without Loki, but there's definitely a feeling that there can be a Loki without Thor. Loki's journey in the Avengers is one of discovery. We, the audience, are able to see the man he's transformed into after the events of Thor. It's a back and forth between Thor and Loki, with Thor not wanting to harm his brother and eventually learning what needs to be done. The issue with this arc is that we kind of already saw it in the film with Thor. Thor loves his brother, but doesn't want to fight him, but eventually has to. It's done yet again, and while both are effective and are great climaxes to these arcs, since we've already seen this in Thor 2011, Thor the character is not as interesting of a character because he's still wrestling with the same issues of his first film. In Thor: The Dark World, Thor is yet again intertwined with Loki. In fact, Loki's arc is far more interesting than Thor's.
You think you alone were loved of Mother? You had her tricks, but I had her trust.
Trust? Was that her last expression? Trust?
I wish I could trust you.
Trust my rage.
Loki wants to do one thing in the Dark World, get revenge on Malekith and Curse for the death of his mother. He changes drastically because the film begins with him incarcerated and ends with him sacrificing himself to stop Curse. It's a dramatic change which unfolds naturally from his character. Thor's journey, on the other hand, is, I'm pretty sure, about wanting to be with Jane? And it's one of the most dull arcs I've ever seen in a Marvel film. Thor's arc is that he believes that his duty is to the people of Asgard, and in the end of the film, he does not want the throne and returns to Jane. Thor is also impacted by his mother's death, but his sadness is overshadowed by Loki's. And though it should feel like Thor's quest, because that's the name of the movie, it feels like Loki's film for the entire second act. Thor's mood doesn't change throughout the entire film, and in the end, he starts feeling like a static character, even though he learns? And finally, we've reached Age of Ultron, the movie that butchered Thor, in my opinion. Thor in Age of Ultron has no arc. He is just there, and worse, he's fallen lower than Hawkeye and Black Widow, because those two characters actually have arcs now, even though Widow's is not that amazing.
You and Banner better not be playing hide the zucchini.
Thor realizing that Vision is important due to his visions is not an arc, by the way, that is a plot point. And after Age of Ultron, Thor was left a broken shell of a character, in my personal opinion. Thankfully, the character was picked up by Taika Waititi, and we got the spectacle known as Thor Ragnarok. Now, Thor Ragnarok absolutely rejuvenized the character for Thor for multiple reasons. One, Thor is now a lot more relatable, having awkward moments like people do, but more importantly, Thor is written less as a moody Shakespearean character. It's hard to relate to someone that speaks like this.
Then you miss the truth of ruling, brother. The throne would suit you ill.
You people are so petty.
And tiny.
Now, Thor acts more like a human being.
Whatever she is, we can stop her together. We can face her together.
Oh my God, you're a Valkyrie. You know, I used to want to be a Valkyrie when I was younger, until I found out that you were all women.
What really helped push this is the tone of Thor Ragnarok. Now, the movie is a comedy, and due to this, everything that occurs is put through a lens. One complaint I always see is that Ragnarok is too funny. That's mostly based on preference, is not really a valid critique. A much more valid critique is that the characters don't act the way they usually do, and that I can explain very easily. Comedy films always have a sort of comedy lens or comedy filter. People don't necessarily act in mundane ways, and everything is a bit of an exaggeration of what is normally seen. And this is common in all comedy movies, and you shouldn't expect a serious tone when going into a comedy film. In Ragnarok, what is funnier is not really as much the characters as it is the situations they're faced with. But still, if characters are more cheery or happy, they technically are now more cheery and happy, and that will be explained later on when I talk about Infinity War. Right now, if you remove all the comedy from Thor Ragnarok, you still have a great film. Thor is on a quest to save his people in the movie, but must also overcome his insecurities, and similar to Tony Stark in the Avengers, become a man that's willing to sacrifice something for the greater good.
What have I done?
Even Thor's arc with Loki is now different. Thor and Loki have always butted heads, but now Thor is indifferent to Loki. As Tom Hiddleston stated during press junket, "I've said this about Loki before. The opposite of love is not hate, but indifference." So the idea that Thor might be indifferent to Loki is troubling for him, because that's a defining feature of who his character is. I don't belong in the family, my brother doesn't love me, I hate my brother. The idea that his brother is like, yeah, whatever, it's an interesting development. There's a sense of urgency in the film, and a sense of family. Family dynamics and family secrecy is huge in Ragnarok, and with Thor finally accepting his role as King of Asgard, his arc from the first Thor film is now completed as well. Taika Waititi really reinvigorated Thor franchise, able to capture comic book absurdity, and pretty much morphed a new character. A Thor we should have seen in Age of Ultron.
I was pretty bored with myself. And then Taika agreed. He said, "I'm so bored of you
Bored
too."
with you as well.
Yeah.
And
We need to reinvent you.
no, but we didn't want it. We didn't want to sort of stick to a pattern and what was familiar and what people expected. We wanted something wildly different, and so, and actually, my concern was hopefully they let him keep his fingerprints on the movie rather than being sort of muscled into a studio version of it. We laughed way too much, and incredibly surprised that people love this film because we didn't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You did.
No, I didn't.
Now, what is incredible is that the Russo brothers have taken the attitude change of Thor from Thor Ragnarok and delved into the psyche of the character. In Infinity War, Thor has a conversation with Rocket Raccoon in which he describes how important it is for him to stop Thanos and how much he's lost. Well, he says all this with a carefree attitude, citing the loss of his brother and how he could still be alive, his mother's death at the hands of a dark elf, his father's death, and the loss of half of his people. His eyes and mannerisms tell a different story, one of loss and sadness. "What more could I lose?" he says, and we now realize that Thor is actually hiding some of his pain by smiling and acting like he's having fun all the time. Thor during Infinity War is not all that joyous, but he's still the same Thor from Thor Ragnarok. His attitude's still a bit more witty and nonchalant, but now has a more powerful drive compared to Ragnarok. Thor's journey in Infinity War is one of revenge, what we should have gotten in Thor: The Dark World. We see Thor's losses through two movies, and in Infinity War he is the character we're probably rooting for the most. While Thanos has the most screen time and Iron Man is top billing, Thor's journey in Infinity War propels the character into the spotlight again due to his fantastic character progression and arc. His journey is understandable, and the most human. Pain and revenge are all feelings that we humans experience, and that is why Thor is now a truly beloved character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you really liked it, please subscribe. And if you actually really liked it, you can support my Patreon. Also, please, if you really liked this individual video, please like it, share it, and of course, comment on it. So thanks for coming to the table, and I'll see you all next time.